Hi everybody and welcome back. If you follow my channel and the Jermanzburg series for a while, you may know that for the first 17 episodes I used a very different art style for my Fakemon. The shadows were made by smudging the edges instead of erasing them. This was the most drastic change. After that there were again minimal changes, but those aren't that important. However, I want all my Fakemon drawings to have an at least very similar style to each other, so I decided I want to redraw a lot of the older ones I've created. Some may only need new outlines, shading and small detail changes, and a few may need a bit more work. I say this right now, this is the last time that I'm redesigning the Jermanzburg Fakemon. If I try to redesign them once again, please stop me. Okay, maybe after 10 years I'm allowed to, but not before. I'm gonna start with the Grasstarter of the region. This may also give new people a fresh start into this project. I'm gonna give a recap on what the Fakemon are based on, what I changed and why I changed things. Let's start with Videoleap. So, the Grasstarter is based on the northern bald ibis, or in German the Medirapp. It is a highly endangered species of birds that can also be found in Germany. The faces of these birds reminded me of Plague Doctor mask or Venetian mask, which was a visual element I wanted to incorporate because I wasn't really satisfied with the one Plague Doctor Pokémon that we actually got. In my very first video I showed my original ideas for the starter Fakemon I had in mind. Then I let people comment on what changes they would make and how we can make the concept a bit more outstanding. With all your input I created the whole Videoleap line and an overarching theme for all three starters. The first trope was pen and paper characters, with the Grasstarter embodying the typical healer character. The second trope was different kind of books, each starter represents a different one. Videoleap represents history or medicine books. And the last connecting trope was that each Fakemon is based on a mythical creature or being. I know Plague Doctors actually existed, but they always have a mysterious image or aura going around. So yeah, that is all still the concept, but I decided the design needs a bit of an update. It is now sitting, one starter will be sitting, one lying and one jumping. The fur around its neck is now a bunch of flower petals. Originally it had a cut in half kiwi in there as well, but it looked a bit awkward. I also rounded off all the spiky parts because usually Pokemon designs are a bit more round so trainers wouldn't hurt themselves while interacting with their Pokemon. All in all, the previous design was not stylized enough, had a bit too many details and was too pointy at some parts. I hope you liked the new redesign and final design. The last change I made was its name. Well, I think Videoleap, which was a fusion of Carnival, Masquerade and Death, really edgy, sounds cool. It doesn't feel like a Pokemon name, let alone a first stage starter name. So I changed it into Medirapp, a fusion of medicine and Waldrapp. Here you can see the different design stages it went through. The first one was rather bottle shaped, but you people suggested to shape it more like a kiwi bird, which I happily applied. What do you think? Do you like the changes I made, or do you prefer the original one? This one was one that didn't need that much changes from the previous one, but I'm a lot more happy with it now. If you agree, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see the redesigned versions of the fire and water starter as well. Let's see the new updated evolution. The middle stage is usually the awkward teenage phase form, and I liked the design, but it felt a bit too awkward at some points. But the pose looked good to me and the overall shape, so it stayed this way. It actually is rather similar to the very first design I made for the middle stage too. It is now standing up and still unable to fly, but it can now run around. The main thing I wanted to change about Doctibis was the hair like grass on its head and the beak. The purple grass didn't really read like grass and just looked like hair, so I wanted to change that, because it makes no sense for a bird with feathers to have hairs. It now has some flower petals growing out of its head, kinda like a mohawk. And the beak was a bit simplified and rounded off, so Doctibis doesn't accidentally stab someone's eye out. You may be wondering why it has two snakes around its head. Well, I think in my original video I explained it wrong. You probably know the symbol of the scepter with a snake wrapping around, which is associated with medicine. This is the scepter of Asclepius, a mythological ancient Greek healer. I, however, said it's based on the Cadurest, the scepter of Hermes. For this we're just gonna pretend it's the same, okay? It's not in real life, but for this, please, I don't want to hold a lecture right now. Besides the hair and beak, everything stayed the same and only got a bit more Pokemonified. It still grows healing berries on its wings, which it gifts to other Fakemon and humans. Here is the updated version of Doctibis. It is still a pure grass type, but I think the secondary typing is hinted well enough. With the new shading method, it also feels a lot more vibrant than before and less desaturated, which I like. Here you can see the 3 different stages Doctibis went through. The changes weren't that crazy but still recognizable. What do you think? Do you prefer the 2021 version or this updated one? Now to the last stage, and let me say this before, it may be the most controversial design change. I know a lot of people like the original design, including me, because it was really edgy. But it still needed a few changes. I don't think every Pokémon or Fakemon should be cute, but rather likable. And Cadurest looked pretty grim, which was the whole concept. It looks like it brings death, but it's actually planting seeds to deserted areas and is bringing life. The 2 main issues were the snake heads, they look really bad, the perspective was awful, and the hair/flower petals on its neck. They served no real purpose and looked a bit strange. Since I already changed the neck parts in the previous 2 stages, it wasn't that difficult to change it here too, but I needed to find the right balance to not make the head look super heavy. I also made the head a bit bigger. I liked how it looked originally because it made it a bit more, well, evil looking, if that makes sense, but we are not going for straight evil here. The snakes were pretty troubling for me because I knew the original pose didn't work at all. So I hid it beneath the flower petals and hinted at the fact that the other elements that may look like flower buds actually may be more snakes. I also changed the beak and gave it a few spots that hopefully make it look more like a mask with rivets. During the shading process I had a bit trouble not making the grey parts appear to be steel, because this is a grass dark type, not dark steel. Grass steel. Okay, it's also not a dark steel type, but whatever. It definitely was a lot of fun to revisit designs from like a year ago and to see any improvements that were made. A few patterns were also changed and the colors again are more vibrant. All of my older drawings look like someone drained the colors out of it. I hope it's not as bad in my newer drawings. And the final evolution of the Grasstarter line, Cadurest. I'm really happy with the redesign, however I can also see if someone prefers the original one. But I think this design works way better with the Pokémon or Fakemon franchise and its design conventions. Here are also the steps that Cadurest went through. I hope you still like it and that I didn't win someone's favorite starter of the Jermanzburg region. I'm also still torn between the Fire and Grasstarter, but right at this moment I'm slightly leaning towards the Medirapp line. Or Medirapp, I don't know. Which is surprising for me, cause I'm not the biggest fan of the official bird starter Fakemon. Pokémon, oh god. I'm sorry, it's like 40 degrees outside and my brain is melting. But yeah, whatever. Rebelmix will be the next to redesign, but it's not gonna be the next video. I'm gonna sprinkle those redesign videos in between the other regular videos. Hope everyone liked the video and the new starter. Tell me what you think in the comments, share the video and subscribe to not miss any new content. See you in the comments!